Hey, what's up YouTube? Welcome back to my channel. Today, I want to talk about my M3, specifically this one, 2015 BMW M3 4-door inline 6 twin turbo. It's a pretty badass car. BMW calls it the ultimate driving machine. And I want to talk to you about it because Steph and I have had this car for about a year and 3 months, and I've never really showed it any love. Never really took photos of it, never really took any videos of it, but I loved it for what it was. Now, I want to talk to you guys about my thoughts of pretty much BMW coming from a JDM background. As you guys know, I focus a lot of my channel and pretty much my whole life around JDM cars, but I really love this BMW M3. And I want to tell you all the goods and some of the bad things that I've experienced with this thing in my life for the past year as a daily driver. Hope you guys will enjoy this video. Please stick around. All right, let's get straight into the cons. The biggest con about this car is the crank hub. Now, to keep things simple, the crank hub is a little small piece in the motor. If you run your car too hard, you could potentially break your whole motor and you'd have to rebuild your whole engine pretty much. Now, I've known people who've spun the crank hub on stock motors, just running it too hard. I've known people, they modify their cars to make it faster, and those cars actually don't last long because of the crank hub. Now, the remedy for this is to replace the crank hub with something aftermarket, and if you're gonna pay someone to do it, it's gonna cost you anywhere between $2,000 and $4,000. And to me, that's cheap insurance for you to really enjoy the car and have it last long. Besides that, this car is pretty much bulletproof, besides small little other cons that I'll tell you right now. So the second con about this car is the depreciation. The sticker price of this car was about $80,000, and in just a few years, it dropped down to like 40 to 45K. You could pick these things up in the used market for fairly cheap. But like I said, if you're buying this thing brand new, the value of it drops. I don't know why, that's just how BMWs are. The next con are the stock brake pads. I personally think that the stock brake pads don't match the power output of the car. So if you're pushing this car really hard and fast, the stock brake pads aren't enough. My remedy for this was I swapped out my pads for StopTex, and I haven't had an issue with them since then. And that's only if you're pushing it really hard. All right, so the next con about this car is the comfortability of the ride. My passengers have told me that the ride isn't that comfortable. Like, it's not luxurious. And I think that's due to the fact that they're comparing this thing to, what BMW usually offers in a 5 Series, where it's very plush and it's very pleasant to ride in. Now, that's not the case with this car. The M3 specifically, it's a pretty rough ride. And to me, it doesn't bother me much because I'm coming from 90s box JDM cars, and this to me is hella bougie. I'm like, oh heck yeah, man, this thing is sweet. But my passengers have told me that the seats aren't that soft. The ride is too stiff, and they're just pretty much bashing on it. But you know what? I take into account that this is more of a performance car than it is a luxury car. So I agree with them. The last con that I have about this car was something that I found on the track. As much as I love this car on the daily roads, I didn't enjoy it as much on the track. And that could be because of a combination of my experience in driving. It could be like me sliding around in those seats over there, and also getting passed up by cars like this. But it was just like pretty interesting for me to see that this car, for me, wasn't as pleasant on the track as it is driving on the daily roads. Also, I was driving my GT3, so it kind of ruined my whole aspect of track driving with other cars. So let's talk about the pros of this car. I love how fast this thing is in a straight line. It's like my favorite daily driver car, and it brings the heat. It's so fast. I gapped like a 600cc motorcycle. He waved goodbye to me, and because mine is a DCT automatic transmission, dude, like I could gap people while drinking like my boba. It's freaking ridiculous. I have a whole video about me keeping up with some of my JDM legend friends, and it's so crazy. For the amount of money that I spent on this car, it's like, wow, what the heck? It's a bang for the buck deal. This thing is so crazy. And this is not even that fast compared to the other super fast guys who build their F80s. This is just like a basic build. It's nothing too crazy, but it's good enough. And I love that about this car. Change the crank hub, you're good to go. Play all day, come home. It's like great. Second pro about this car is I like the look of the car. Despite the color being blue, like baby blue, I actually grown to love this color. And it's really aggressive for a four-door. Like, even if you look at the flares of the car, it's huge, down to like the carbon fiber roof. This thing is a performance car. And I was really skeptical about getting a four-door, but man, this thing really changed my mind about just M3s in general. It just looks great. I like the look of it. Another pro about the car is the interior. Like I said, I came from JDM shitbox 90s cars. So seeing an interior like this kind of excites me because it has all the carbon fiber trim. Everything looks nice. The seats look nice to me. Heated seats in the front and rear, and the steering wheel has an executive package. So it has those like little window cover shades in the rear. The headliner's all blacked out. So is the A pillar, B pillar, and C pillars. And it also has heads-up display for the driver. So I can change the heads-up display option with the steering wheel. And, you know, it's just enough tech for me to really enjoy the car for what it is. Another pro about this car is the heads-up display. It really changes my experience in driving because I've never had this heads-up display before. And what it does, it displays your speedometer, your tachometer. You could switch the music through it. And what happens is it projects all that information onto your windshield so that once you're driving, you can see everything on your windshield. And like, that is like so bougie. It's literally set the standard for what I expect in future cars. I really like that technology, and BMW kind of nailed it on the head. It's just home run. That's awesome. If you made it this far into the video, thank you for watching, but I also have a few more bonus items that I wanted to add onto the list if you're considering buying this car. Now, the biggest reason why I love this car, if you didn't notice, was because of how effortless it is to have fun, drive it, and you know, it brings the heat. It's so fast and so powerful. Also, like I mentioned before, I'm into 90s Hondas, and I didn't get the same experience with this car that I did with other cars in the past that I've had. Specifically, I can park this car outside and not have to worry about anybody trying to steal my cattle converter. No one trying to steal the whole car, like how I would be worrying about if I had my old Integra back, you know, sleeping with one eye open. I'm done with that lifestyle. So I really like what this car has brought to me in my life. It's been great. Another thing is, I hope this video really helped you out if you're like I said, if you're trying to buy one, and I would 100% support it. I'd say yes, get one if you can. Thanks for watching. See you guys in the next video.